Hello and welcome to the topic Nazism and the Rise of Hitler. Chapter 3, Class 9 History. Before going to know about the greatest leader, a dictator, the one who shook the world with his policies, Adolf Hitler, let us study about what happened after the Second World War. Who was Helmut? Let us study the story of Helmut. In the spring season of 1945, a little 11-year-old boy, a small German fellow called Helmut, he was lying on his bed when he just overheard his parents discussing something very serious. His father came. He was a prominent physician and he spoke to his wife about killing the entire family or even committing suicide alone. When he spoke these words, the fear of revenge was there. He said that now the Allies will do to us what we did to the crippled and the Jews because his father has been a Nazi and a supporter of Adolf Hitler. Here, the father is the father of Helmut, who is a physician and who is afraid that the Allies will take revenge. Who are the Allies? Why will they take revenge? Let us study the background. After going to his office, he committed suicide. After the death of his father, the boy was afraid and he started refusing to eat at home for 9 years. He was afraid that his mother might poison him. These were the ideologies in the minds of the young boys and girls. Why they should be killed, who were the Jews, who were the crippled, why they are persecuted. These are the allies. The France, Russia, US, UK. This is the winning side. The losing side is Italy, Germany, Japan. We are talking the result of the World War II. On the May 1945, Germany surrendered to Allies. Hitler and his entire family committed suicide collectively in his Berlin bunker. International Military Tribunal at the Nuremberg Tribunal sentenced only 11 leading Nazis to death. All others were imprisoned for life. They were prosecuted. They were called as criminals for the crimes against the humanity. That was the largest killing done in the world ever. Killing of 6 million Jews, around 2 lakh gypsies, 1 lakh Polish, the people of Poland, civilians, 70,000 Germans who were considered mentally and physically disabled. Nazi devised an unprecedented or unforeseen means of killing the people. Unimaginable killing. Why this large scale killing should happen? Why this Holocaust? Who is responsible? What is the story behind this? For this, we need to go back to the World War I. The whole story starts at the World War I juncture. Archduke Ferdinand and his wife Sofia were going in a chariot when a Bosnian Serb threw a bomb on them. and they were assassinated. Austria asked Serbia for explanation and it gave 48 hours. In 48 hours, no worthwhile explanation was received. That happened on 28th June 1914. After a month, Austria declared war on Serbia. Serbia was supported by England, France, Russia, US later. And on the Allied side, that is, Austria was supported by Germany, Hungary, Italy, Turkey, so on. In this war, the war guilt was imposed on Germany, and Germany was humiliated. It was defeated by the Allies at the end. And in this war, the spectacular role was played by Hitler, who served as a messenger, as just a soldier. He could not see the defeat of his country, his motherland, and the humiliation which was granted to it by the Allied powers. England, France, Russia all joined the war hoping a quick victory. They realized very little that the war would stretch on and Europe will lose its resources. Germany made initial gains by occupying France and Belgium. Later, Allies strengthened their position with the entry of US in 1917 and won. Germany on the Central Powers or the Axis powers side in November 1918 after defeat of the Imperial Germany, abdication of the throne, the German emperor was made responsible and Germany had to accept the war guilt. It was made to pay the compensation. Huge war indemnity was imposed on Germany. Germany faced the biggest loss, and the guilt was very, very huge on it. The new parliament which came into existence, the birth of the Weimar Republic, it formed the National Assembly and a democratic constitution with a federal structure. The deputies were elected on equal basis and on universal votes in German parliament, which was otherwise called as Reichstag. The Weimar Republic made the efforts, but it was not received well by its people. What are the reasons for the failure of the Weimar Republic? It was fragile. It could not give a lasting rule to the people. The Treaty of the Versailles, which was signed in 1919, and this Treaty of the Versailles has imposed huge war compensation on Germany. Germany lost its overseas colonies, at least one tenth of its population, 13% of its territories, and 75% of its own iron and coal to France, Poland, Denmark, Lithuania. A peace treaty was signed at the mirrored palace of Versailles with the Allies that was very harsh and humiliating and insulting one which the emperor had to accept. The war guilt clause held Germany responsible for the war damages. The Allied countries suffered and Germany was paying the compensation. It had to pay the compensation that amounted to 6 billion. The Allied armies also occupied the resource rich Rhine Valley or the Rhine land in 1920. The main reason was that behind all this occupying strategy by the Allied powers. Weimar Republic watched just as a spectator. It could not do anything. It accepted the peace treaty of the Versailles. Many Germans held the new Weimar Republic responsible for not only the defeat in the war, but the disgrace which it has accepted at the Versailles. And all this was humbly being noticed by a soldier who rose up to rule the dictatorship, with his vision to rebuild his country, Adolf Hitler. Germany, the German territory that lost its territories, the regions which were taken away by France, by Lithuania, Poland, and other countries. The effect of the war. It was a very devastating impact, or it was both on the minds psychologically and also financially. It was a very huge compensation which German country had to pay. The continent of creditors to continent of republic carried the burden of war, that was guilt and national humiliation. The nation being humiliated from a superpower status, from a rich status, from a country with rich coal reserves, iron reserves, now turning to pay the war compensation which was imposed on it. Those who supported this infant fragile Weimar Republic, they were the socialists, the Catholics, the Democrats, and they became the target to be attacked in the conservative nationalist circles. The conservatives do not want to change. They believe that the monarchs are going to rule and that rule should be accepted, and all those people belonging to different sections of the society, they were called as the November criminals mockingly. The First World War and its deep imprints on the European society, the trench life, that is a ditch, a defeated life, this glorified. The truth was that the soldiers lived in a miserable life at the trenches. They had to hide themselves, trap themselves with the rat feeding on the corpses, faced poisonous gases and rancors reduced rapidly. Their efforts to defend their nation failed. The politicians laid great stress on men, and these men had to be aggressive and they had to be strong, they had to be masculine. The aggressive war propaganda and the national honor that occupied the center of the stage. Everyone in the people had to notice that the lost fame of the country should be brought together. And this will not happen with the infant Weimar Republic, which could not give a stable government, and so many cabinets collapsed. The people who were afraid that they will be facing the poisonous gases, and the soldiers who hid in the trenches who had to face the war. The Weimar Republic opposed to this as socialists, Democrats, Catholics. Weimar Republic crushed the uprising with the help of free corps. Weimar Republic wanted a democratic republic to be elected by the people. Disadvantage was taken to reconcile all the efforts by Hitler. And whatever mistakes or conflicts Weimar Republic was doing, he took advantage of that time. The Spartacist League, the group on pattern of Bolshevik revolution in Russia, on those guidelines, They demanded a Soviet or a Congress or group, and that had to be governed. Later, they founded the Communist Party of Germany. The country was in severe economic crisis, and Germany had to make the war reparation. Reparation is compensation. It had to pay the payments to the allied countries for all the loss. In 1923, Germany refused to pay. There was inflation. The value of the money fell down drastically. There was shortage of food. There was unemployment. Everywhere people were dissatisfied. The prices of the goods increased. And this situation led to the Dave's plan situation of hyperinflation, and the value of the German currency, which was called as mark, it fell down drastically. The year of depression, Great Depression 1919, stability during 1914 to 1928 was built in sand. Germany decided to recover from short loans they wanted to take from USA. But the Wall Street exchange collapsed. It crashed in 1921, and the people who took their shares, believing that they will get good returns, they had to sell their shares, and there was an absolute fall in the prices. On 24th October, 13 million shares were sold. The national income of USA fell by half. The effect was on the entire world. The same economic crisis impact was there on Germany too. Economic problem had a deep impact on the German economy. Industrial production was reduced to 40% in 1932. Many of the workers lost their jobs and were paid very low wages. Those wages did not fetch them the actual needs. Unemployment increased to 6 million. On the streets of Germany, people could be seen, men could be seen wearing a placard around their neck, willing to do any kind of work. The criminal activities increased. There was no place for the people to live. They lived on the streets, they slept on the wires. Falling value currency, the income of the saving people, those who had regular income from pensions and the salary, even that diminished. Business got ruined, agriculture fell, peasants were affected. They could not produce to meet the needs of all the people. Feeling that this situation is going to lead to pauperism or absolute poverty, this stage led to impoverishment or poverty of German working class. Then came the problem of economic depression that changed the political atmosphere of Germany. They were looking for a leader who is going to come up with some objective of reforming the economy and to patch up the defects of the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic and the elections which came up with the proportional representation, this led to Article 48. This gave the unlimited power to the president to impose an emergency and suspend the civil rights of the people and to rule by decree. Decree is an official order. No party could get the majority, and coalition formation was a difficulty. Vulnerability, everybody was just opposed to the dictatorship, the president who combined in himself the highest powers. At the same time, people lost confidence in the democratic parliament, a parliament which had frequent elections, cabinet could could not stand and give a stable government, which could not control the prices, could not control unemployment, could not create jobs, standard of living was poor, people lived a miserable and pathetic life. Hitler's rise to power, this is the time when he entered into the political arena to restructure the German nationalism, to restructure the past glory of Germany. Born in 1889 in Austria, enrolled himself in army during the First World War, acted as the messenger who was rewarded for his work. He became a corporal and earned medals for his bravery at the war. The German defeat horrified him. He could not take the insult which was meted out to his country. And the Treaty of Versailles made him furious. He wanted to get back all the lost territories. In 1919, he joined the small group of Workers' Party called as the National Socialist German Workers' Party and then Nazi Party. He renamed it as the Nazi Party. In 1923, Hitler planned to seize the control of Bavaria. He marched to Berlin and captured the power. He failed. He was arrested and later he was released. During the times of Great Depression, that time the Nazi became the mass movement. People now started believing that the Nazi propaganda. He was a powerful speaker. He could hypnotize the people. When people listened to his speeches, they thought that this is the man who is going to build our nation once again, bring back the past glory. He will just make the economy sound. In 1928, the Nazi party got no more than just 2.6 votes in the German parliament or the Reichstag. By 1932, it has become the largest party with 37% of votes. Hitler was a powerful speaker. He promised to build a strong nation, undo the injustice which was given by the Treaty of Versailles. He wanted to restore the German parliament, German people, German nation to dignity. He promised for the youth to give them empowerment. For those who are looking for work, he promised them work. And he wanted to weed out the foreign influences and resist all the foreign conspiracies. No conspiracy against Germany. He devised a systematic plan and style of politics using the ritual and spectacle for mass mobilization. He made conscription compulsory. Conscription is compulsory military training. He held massive rallies and created the sense of collective belongingness. His swastika, the symbol to salute the national flag. This all was done skillfully, systematically, strategy, and he was considered as a messiah, a savior. In the beginning, he spoke about the religion. Later, he glorified himself to be the God. When he came to the masses, he spoke in such a way that they saluted him, saying, "Hail Hitler!" This captured the imagination of the people, whose sense of dignity and pride had been shattered. That is Hitler. Hitler with his army. On the right side, we have the map of Europe. At the Nuremberg rally, he created the sense of collective belongingness, and the masses who attained it, they all realized that their hopes can be set on Hitler, and the achievement of the lost territories and the past glory can be entrusted to him. On the January 1933, President Hindenburg offered the chancellorship. Hitler started dismantling democracy. Slowly, he came up with his strategy. A mysterious fire broke out in the German parliament, and the fire decree of 28th February 1933. Later, he suspended the civic rights such as freedom of speech, press, and assembly, guaranteed by the Weimar Republic and their constitution. Then he turned on to his enemies, the communists. He established the concentration camps. President Hindenburg, the left extreme picture, the German Parliament House or the Reichstag, the right extreme picture, the Nazi concentration camp. The persecution of the people at concentration camps started. Persecution is torture them, humiliate them. The repression of these communist party people also took place. Out of the surviving 6,808 arrest files of Dusseldorf, a small city, half a million population, 1,440 were only communist alone. This was the percentage of people of communism. However, the only one among this group were the 52 people, 52 percentage of people persecuted by the Nazis across the country. Then he introduced the Enabling Act. The Enabling Act made him the more powerful. It was passed in 1933. The act established the dictatorship in Germany. It gave Hitler all power to rule, to sideline the parliament and rule by decree, the official order. The political parties and the trade unions were banned, except the Nazi Party and its affiliates or associates. The complete control of the economy, media, army, and judiciary was with the Nazi Party. Special surveillance or secret observation troops were set up. Special forces were created to control the law and order in the society in ways, every ways Nazi wanted to do. Regular police, called as the stormtroopers, Gestapo, secret state police was appointed. Another section of SS, prosecution squads, they arrest. Then they had the criminal police and the secret service going on. Any kind of activity against the Nazi rule was not tolerated. They were arrested and persecuted. Organized forces with extra constitutional powers made the Nazi state dreaded. People were just afraid with this criminal state. People could now be detained in Gestapo, tortured in the chambers, and rounded up and sent to concentration camp. The deported at the will were tortured, arrested without any legal procedure, and the police forces had taken them for using their acquired powers and to rule with impunity. There is no exemption from punishment. They had to face the punishment. the police of Germany, and the officers of the secret police Gestapo. The reconstruction plan started. He wanted to rebuild the economy with the help of the greatest economist who supported Hitler. His name is Helmer Sacher. They aimed at full production and full employment. This created job opportunities. Unemployed would get the job placement, though the state funded them, and this created program or assisted the program. It produced the German superhighways and the people's car. Today we have the Volkswagen was once upon a time produced by the German technology during the Hitler's time. Hitler acquired successes in his foreign policy. He pulled Germany out of the League of Nations. The League of Nations was a peacekeeping organization started in 1919, and they decided that no more war will happen and destruction of money, material will not be taking place. He pulled out Germany from that League of Nations in 1933. The mistake in the year, please check. Reoccupied the Rhineland, the rich valley of coal reserves, integrated the Austria and Germany, asking for one people, one empire, one leader. He was born in Austria. He never considered that Austria was separate from Germany. So he wanted to make this one single empire. Then he moved towards the west, German speaking Sudetenland and Czechoslovakia, and gobbled up the entire region. He engulfed it in the German territory. The Volkswagen car, and that is Helmer Sach. The Second World War and the downfall of Hitler. England, which had considered the Treaty of Versailles' verdict too harsh, these quick successes at home and abroad seemed to reverse the destiny of the country. Sach, that is Helmut Sach, had advised Hitler not to invest heavily on rearmament and building up of arms, ammunition, fighter planes, and all. But Hitler did not listen to the economist because their economy was running on deficit financing. Suggestion of the economist was not considered by Hitler. However, he had no place in German Sach and German Sach, that is Helmer Sach. He had to leave. Hitler chose war as the way to overcome economic crisis. He wanted to get back his lost territory, the rich valley, Rhine Valley, through expansion mode. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland and started the first step or the immediate step for the Second World War. Germany invaded Poland. France and England started war against Germany. And the tripartite pact of the September 1940, which was signed by Germany, Italy, Japan. By this pact, each of the nations would be supporting one another. That would ensure food supply, living space for the Germans. Hitler attacked. His biggest mistake, the greatest blunder of Hitler was he attacked the Soviet Union in June 1941. The biggest blunder in the life of Hitler, this blunder. He had to pay consequence for this. That led to the downfall of Nazi Germany. the arrow which pointed here. When Hitler moved with his troops towards the Russia, Soviet Union, already Bolshevik army was very well equipped with armament. When he left this region became uncontrollable. This was taken care by aerial bombing by the Britain, and the Soviet Red Army hit made the German forces to go back to such an extent, and the Red Army entered into the German territory. And for nearly next 50 years, they tried to control here without proper planning, without estimating the real strength of the Red Army, the Bolshevik rulers, I mean the soldiers, of course they are the rulers because they safeguard the nation. The war on two fronts: on western front aerial bombing by the British, on the eastern front the full flight with the Soviet Red Army. Unwilling to enter, but again USA entered this time, and this time due to Japan, who bombed the Pearl Harbor of USA, the naval base. USA want to take revenge by dropping the atomic bomb on the Hiroshima and Nagasaki. With the Second World War started. From this, the brief account of what has happened, the Second World War. Now we go back to Helmut story. The war went on from 1939 to 45. It was series of events. Hitler followed the dictatorship, absolute control, and all those people whom he hated, the Jews, the gypsies, the crippled, the Polish, all those people he captured. No one could speak, and all of them had to face the consequences which they have faced. This is the part one of Hitler's rise to power. In the part 2, we will study his steps towards rebuilding of the nation, his belief in the youth, how he restructured the nation, his beliefs on women, and other important aspects. How did the people express their feeling in the Nazi German country or the nation? This PowerPoint presentation once again made by my student Jagruti, class 9D, and I take delight in explaining Hitler and the rise to power in the Nazi Germany. Thank you so much.